Welcome back to the Unstuck movement, true testimonies of breakthrough. As always, I'm your host, Rob Z, and I love bringing incredible guests on here who have true testimonies of breakthrough. Today, Arnold Beekes is with us. We're going to be talking brain fitness, how to uncondition ourselves, breaking away from conformity, being a personal leader of our own lives, and also the mental freedom that comes along with that. And today, the title of this episode is Brain Fitness versus Brain Sickness. And Arnold, I want to start here because I love talking about creativity on this show. And it's so true and so obvious, I think, in our society that we have creativity kind of learned out of our system. We're conditioned out of being creative, it seems like, at some point in our life. Not all of us, but a lot of people. And we want to regain that creativity for ourselves. What role does creativity play in brain fitness?
A very, very important role. It's one of the most important things, I would say. So it's not a trivial thing. It's really essential. And it's absolutely, like you said, there has been a famous NASA study done many, many years ago, which tested people's creativity from the moment they were very young and when they get older. And the interesting fact is, I think if I get the numbers right, people were at their peak level of creativity between 5 and 7 years old. Mm-hmm. I repeat, between 5 and 7 years old. After that, with children when they go 8, 9, 10, it's still high, but after 10, 11, it starts to decline more rapidly. And why is that? And I think that is part of the conditioning, because people don't want you to be creative. They just want you to obey. Mm-hmm. And that is why, if I'm now with an audience, or ask your audience at the moment, is, would you say you're creative and raise your hand? By far, the majority won't raise their hand. That is sad, because you are creative, but it's been suppressed and unused for so many years that you think you are not creative. Mm-hmm. Yeah? And that is why I say, is like, creativity is got a high frequency, and it makes you feel good and happy and contributing, and something which you can do up to very old age. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to do a painting or write a book, but it can also be like, try a new ingredient in your dish which you eat tonight. Or if you drive to the supermarket always in the same way, just take another way. Yeah? And it's like, or if you're always reading thrillers, read a book about creativity. Yeah? So that is also creative. Yeah? So it's like, just get out of your, well, basically what I want is that people get out of their comfort zone, but it's also like, try something new. And it can be all the things. Like, to get to know people, I sometimes ask, is like, suppose you can go to a restaurant. Do we always go to the same restaurant, or do you pick a new one? Most people think, no, if I know the restaurant, I like to go there, so I will go there. That says something about your creativity. That says something about your comfort zone. And I say to people, well, try something new. I know, and so you can start small and you can build it up, and up to what I decided myself, live in another country. I know it's a big stretch for a lot of people, but it needs all of your creativity to do these things. Yeah? And that makes you feel good. That makes you grow. That makes you like, hey, my brain is got to work again. And it's kind of exciting to meet new people, get new habits, new language, new stuff. Yeah? So creativity is something which we have, and something which we all can do, and is critical for your brain health.
100%. I think it is. One of the things I was thinking while you were saying all of this was, often too, I don't think we even recognize what creativity is on a day-to-day basis. Like, I think a lot of times we're using our creativity, we don't even look at it like that. And we don't have creativity talked about enough in our society to where it's like embracing being creative, because you said like 5 to 7 years old is peak creativity, which means when you tap back into that creative mind, you go back to like that feeling of being a kid and how joyful that is, right? And it seems like if I had to pinpoint it maybe for myself, the only times I'm not being creative is whenever I'm being fearful, right? I'm not like taking chances, taking a risk, but that like fear kind of boxing myself into like, well, this is what I know how to do, and if I go outside of this, I'm not going to know what's coming next, and that's scary for people, right? They want to have control, they want to know what's around the next corner, and life isn't like that. That's not how life is. So being able to plan that out is pretty unrealistic to begin with. But for us to really truly be creative, we have to recognize we were created to be creative. And so embracing that, like, this is a part of who we are as people. Like, it's an essential, at least I look at it this way, it's an essential part of being a human is to be creative.
Yeah, and that's how we distinguish from animals. It's like, I think that's how we also, well, for the moment still, distinguish ourselves from AI. It's like, yeah, but people have with creativity, they're like, I gotta be like Rembrandt, I gotta be like a sculptor or whatever. No, if you make a dish out of 3 ingredients which you just found in your refrigerator, that's also creative.
Yeah. And I think courage comes right along with it. Have the courage to do it, right?
Yeah,
Have the courage
to get out of your comfort zone.
I love that, man. It's so good. Like you said, changing countries. I've never changed countries. That's quite an undertaking, and really, like you said, challenges your creative brain. And it makes sense too. It's like that brain elasticity of like, if you keep doing the same things, your brain never has a chance to challenge itself, so it doesn't have a chance to grow. Just like anything else in life, it can't grow unless it's broken down a little bit and challenged. Like it's put under stress, therefore it has to find a new way to do new things, which can be like, I'm thinking of the word mental gymnastics. Like, but you want that for your brain. That's what staves off things like dementia and Alzheimer's. It's been proven, right, keeping your brain active can help you to stay away from those things longer. Anyways, before we go any further, I just want to welcome everybody here to the platform, the Unstuck movement. I created this platform because I've been stuck. Arnold, I'm sure you've been stuck somewhere in your life. We need to be creative to get out of those places where we're at. And I love finding true testimonies of breakthrough, because it's everything for us to find breakthrough in our lives. And it takes creativity to find breakthrough. So the whole platform, the whole purpose is for you to have examples, for you to find breakthrough wherever you're stuck in your life. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Make sure you check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Over 500 creative, heart-centered leaders from all over the world helping each other grow. And also the Pro Podcaster Academy. So if you've always wanted to launch a podcast, you don't know how to do it, too many nuts and bolts and question marks of how to get started, I love to help people launch their platforms to make a lasting impact in people's lives, to make incredible personal and professional connections like the one we're having right now here, Arnold, and also to break out of the ordinary, right? To be the go-to authority in the thing that you do. I'd love to help you get launched. And if you already have a podcast, I'd love to help you streamline it, how to get it done faster, more efficiently, and how do you monetize it and make money off of it, make it a real revenue generating source for your business and for your life. You can go to robzwentz.com, join the Pro Podcaster Academy. Arnold Beekes with us today helps people break free from the straitjackets of conformity and live life on their own terms. With decades of experience in technology, psychology, and personal leadership, he now focuses on brain fitness as the key to unlocking performance, well-being, and freedom. When did you realize in your life that you weren't utilizing your creativity the way you needed to, that led you to, I guess, changing countries, launching Brain Gym? Was there a certain point in your life where you realized that your creativity had been stifled and you needed to do something about it?
Well, actually, my work in the corporate world was very creative because apparently I didn't know that I was one of the few guys who could come up with new products and new services and new technologies and new ideas where most people don't.
Hmm.
So I've been
What did you do? What did you do in the corporate world?
I've been doing that, yes, since my first job, I would say, my first employee being an employee. Um, I'll answer you in a moment. The later on, when I got out of the corporate world, I realized there's much more to applying your creativity than defining new products and services and business processes in the corporate world. So it's like, well, I thought this was the scope, but there's so much more. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that is what happened later. Yeah? So my first job was with a very small company, but what we did was quite thing. We introduced the system of barcoding in the Netherlands. Yeah. Yeah, so like when you now go to any store, but it started in food retail where you would get the barcode on the stuff and you get scanning, and then later on it transformed into being a whole ecosystem, digitized way of communicating. But this was in the 80s.
Hmm.
So that was my first job, which was extremely innovative and creative. And then I came to work for what was then the second largest IT company in the world, Digital Equipment Corporation. And I was always setting up something new department, new businesses, new processes, new tools, new whatever. And yeah, I felt quite comfortable with that. And always when they had a problem or needed something new, Arnold. So I worked there for 13 years and I got 12 different jobs. And it was not because I was lousy at it.
So, as you know, saying switching countries, the creative mind that comes into that, right? And maybe like out of necessity too, you feel like you've got to go move somewhere else. That's something that, man, most people never do. Some people never leave the town they live in. What was the catalyst for you being like, I got to move countries, I got to go somewhere else? Was it to challenge yourself, or out of necessity, or a little bit of both?
Both aspects. When I worked in the corporate environment, I mostly had international responsibilities, so regional, European wide, and global wide. And I worked for an American company, so there were times when I was 5 days a week in a plane. And actually, there was a period when I was 1 week per month in the States. So I traveled a lot. And I came up with the idea is like, it's nice to be in another country, but I really would like to live somewhere rather than just hop in a plane, get in a taxi, get into the hotel, get into the meeting room and the other way around. I would like to live somewhere, how that is. Yeah, and especially the US. That didn't happen because all kinds of organizational changes, and then we got bought by another company. It never happened. It got nothing to do with me, but it was still something like, I want to do that sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started business for myself, whatever, at some point in time, I was totally broke. I went to the social benefit office and they said, yeah, we understand. But you still have money in your retirement fund. So please cash the money out of your retirement fund. Otherwise, you won't get any money. So you first use your retirement money and then maybe later you can come back. That made me extremely angry because I paid a lot of taxes while I had these corporate roles and whatever. And I was like, now I'm in a position I need money. I didn't get money and I eat my pension and I'm not of the pension age. Yeah, well, that was then. Now it's a little bit different. But it's like, I totally felt screwed. So it's
Mhm.
like, it's only one thing. When I was paying all these taxes, a lot of taxes, everybody was fine, and now Arnold needs some help. No. So that's when I said, I'm gonna leave. Yeah. So I don't have the money. I have a little bit of money out of my pension, because if you stop your pension, well, at least those, it's different in the US than in Europe or in Netherlands, but it doesn't matter. The essence is like, if you stop it before your age of retirement, you get a penalty, and it gets made into a cash product, which also leaves a lot of the value. So you basically lose more than half of your money.
Okay.
So that's when I said, I'm going somewhere else. And I'm going to do what didn't happen. I'm going to live abroad.
I love it, man. Yeah, there's a point of like frustration, right? Being fed up and then stepping out, going after it. That we all, it's good to hit that point in life. It might be like it might seem like the worst point, but also like you need those turning points to turn things around. That's when the big breakthroughs can happen in our lives. I'm curious what you think about when it comes to uniqueness, and we all have our own unique gifts, right? Our own uniqueness that is about us. Do you feel like there's ways that society intentionally suppresses that uniqueness within us?
100%.
How so?
I know that each human being, the moment we're born, we're totally unique. There's nobody the same as Rob or Arnold. There's nothing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So what they are doing, that's why we need such an awful long time for our education system. So let's say it's from the age of 5 till the age of 20, which is incredible long time.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the animal world, look at everywhere else. It's really crazy. Why do they need so much time? They need so much time because they want to make individual human beings the same as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it takes such a long time, because they want to root out your uniqueness.
Right. Reprogram, right?
Yeah, yeah. So why are they doing that? Because then you're easier to control.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to be creative. They don't want you to come up with your own idea. I think it's in most cultures is that, well, even your parents might have said it, or your teachers, is that if you give an answer, it's like, well, I thought, we don't want you to think, we just want you to do.
Mm.
That is sad, because we want you to think and not to blindly do. But that's what people are. That's why they want this conformity, which is pushed in us, which is not natural. That's why it takes 15 years.
It's also, I look at it too, as it's also makes things easier for groups to move forward, right? It's like if everybody just falls in line, then we can all these things that need to get done will get done a lot faster, right? Which sounds, and coming from like a non-conspiratorial part, it's like, okay, well, yeah, sometimes to get things done, you need to just kind of fall in line and do the things. But at some point in time, because I like to look at it both ways. I like to think like, yes, there are people who are trying to control us. Then there's also people who just, this is how things have been done for a long time. It's easier to do them this way. So this is just how we do them. And I think both of those play in tandem together, and both of those stifle out our creativity. What are your thoughts on that?
I disagree. That was, and to a certain extent, it's still true when started this whole education and training of people, when the industrial age started, and most people were needed as employees in factories and assembly lines. That is where what you said is absolutely true, because you cannot have people on the assembly line like, oh, maybe we should do it different, or can we do it like this, or, well, I want to have an hour now where I can do something else. I need some shop. No, that is not possible. But our world doesn't exist of factories and everything where people work, at least not the majority of the people anymore. So that time is gone.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like it, and not that I don't want to go deep into this, but I'm just thinking like it's interesting because it's like that may have been ideal for some point in time when that's what we needed to be, and either out of intention, or it's probably both, some intention and some just laziness of like, this is how it's done. And when something gets really big, it can be hard to overhaul the whole thing, right? So you see in school systems, like, there's obviously schools that aren't a part of the regular educational school system. There's homeschooling. There's ways to do it, but on the whole, the mass of the school system is still the same as it was 200 or more years ago, right? It's still the same setup.
Absolutely. That's what I'm seeing is like the only difference is instead of having a notebook and a pen, they're now having a laptop or the phone where they make notes, or where the teacher share slides on a PowerPoint, where they used to have in my time a chalkboard, but the content is still the same.
Still the same. Yeah. It is wild to think of. It really is. And also, I believe, like, especially in the past, maybe 50 or more years, creativity has been much more celebrated. The idea of creativity has been much more celebrated, and learning how to use, there's so much science on how to use our brains and how to maximize the abilities of what we have inside of our minds. And so, like, why not step into an age where that's what we do? We really learn how to think. We really learn how to bring those parts out of ourselves that maybe was left behind. So when we pause, I got to pause real fast. Shout out the sponsor of the show. When we come back, I want to find out from you, Brain Gym, like what is it? Why did you create it? And how has it helped you to change your life? What are the components of brain fitness training that we all should be practicing to make ourselves better? We'll talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Arnold, fascinating conversation, much needed in our society today. The components of brain fitness training. Talk a little bit about that. What made you start this, and what are the key components that can really help us?
I started with brain fitness. I could find back the time when that happened. It was a moment, is a day. So imagine I was living with my mother with dementia and Parkinson. So clearly mental illness. That day, I had to go with my sister, who was officially diagnosed with depression, to a what they call a mental health institution. It got nothing to do with health, but that's another discussion. To go there because they were pushing her into classes and everything, which actually made things worse rather than better. So I needed her to get to other classes or to get her out of that program entirely. But she was so stressed, so I had to go with her. I did go with her to that institution. While I was waiting outside with her, she saw a couple of, in this case, women who were in the same class with. So she went chatting, and I left my distance. I didn't know them, so I was waiting for the meeting with the managers, the leaders of the institution. She came back and said, "Arnold, it was a heavy discussion." I said, "Why?" They said there were two, well, colleagues, fellow students in that class who committed suicide last week.
Mm.
Wow. That was before our meeting. Then we got into the meeting with these folks, and I noticed very quickly that they were only driving utilization. It's like, we still got a couple of places in this class. Yeah, my sister, yeah, but I already did it, and I didn't like it, and it didn't help. No, but do it again.
Mm-hmm.
What the? And they didn't know about like using psychedelics or any new treatments, whatever. Is like, no, this is the class. We need to get the class full. That's it. These folks have, since their university study, not learned anything, not kept up to date with knowledge and whatever, and whatever. So, make a long story short, I managed to get her out of it because it made things worse. And well, it's not nice. Yeah, if your sister is totally depressed and trying to help, and she's going somewhere where she feels even more lousy. Yeah, so then I had to go home. It's Netherlands, so it was on my bike, and I'm going home to my mother with dementia and Parkinson. So I'm like, what is this? It's pretty sure, well, that my sister cannot get cured. Neither does my mother. There are no cures. It's not that she all of a sudden will get better. Yeah? So, well, at least not the way they're being done. And I'm like, you're really screwed if you're in that situation from either my mother or my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we really, really need to be working on prevention and optimization, because this is really going in the wrong direction. So that is when I came up with the idea, is like, hey, why do people do body fitness or whatever you call it, exercise, movement? It doesn't matter, doing sports. Well, to keep your body fit. And then I was like, but what are we doing to keep our brains fit?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So that's when the idea of brain fitness was born.
So day to day, what do you do to keep your brain fit? What are some things you do every day that is a necessity for you to stay sharp?
My approach is totally holistic. So mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, environmental, and social. So I have a lot of habits created to keep me fit. So it's not only like focusing on my brain, it's also, for me, it's walking. I cannot do sports anymore because 4 years ago I had a very, very serious car accident. I nearly died. So I can barely walk. So walking is for me elite sport. Which is walking. I do mobility exercises. I do an exercise to train my heart brain, because I didn't know that. I didn't know it worked. So every day I do an exercise around that. I got daily rituals, which are questions, instructions, things to trigger me, which I do 4 times per day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and before I go to sleep. Yeah. In what I'm doing is I'm always trying to learn, create, and care. That's what I do. So all of these things, if you look at my day, it's totally integrated into my day.
I love that. Every day trying to learn, create, and care.
Yeah.
That's really good, because it's one thing to learn, one thing to want to create, but also one thing to care about others and to be of service to people, right? To try to help.
Yes, that, but there's a thing which comes before that, which is taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Most people forget that.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, you can only help somebody as much as you can help yourself. You talk about digital dementia. What is digital dementia?
Well, most people associate dementia with elderly people.
Yeah.
That is true. But by the way, there are now people in their 40s and 50s who are diagnosed with dementia, so the age is coming down.
Oh, wow.
But digital dementia is like, because people are on their totally glued to the phones, to the smartphones, is like they lose their confidence, they lose their focus, they're also always focused, they cannot concentrate for a long time, they get anxious, they get depressed. That's digital dementia. So a lot of young people have digital dementia.
Is that a term that you made up, or is that an actual
No, I found it in articles, and more people are starting to talk about it.
It makes sense. It's like, yeah, that's the ADHD, the lack of being able to focus, being able to interact with people, short attention span, short memory. It's really interesting, and it definitely you I think anybody alive could see there are components of that they've seen in their own lives that are true for sure.
Yeah, but I would say it's sad because it impacts young people, middle-aged people, and now I see it older-aged people. I see, and it's a shift in the last few months, because I used to see is like, when young people, even when they're walking, is like their phone is like the guide dog for the blind. Yeah, they walk with their phone, and that's how they walk. Huh?
Yeah, well, they're usually like this too. It's usually like right here.
Yeah.
I see people, kids all the time, teenagers, like their phone's this close to their face. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Like, how could it be that close to your face? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, but it's like, but that group is like, I now see middle-aged people. I saw a guy like in the 70s or 80s, like doing the same. So it's like an epidemic. Yeah. And it's impacting everyone. And that's horrible. Huh?
It is. It's certainly alarming if you pull yourself back and look at it. You talk about what happens when robots are humanized and humans are robotized.
Yeah, that's the
very interesting way of looking at that. It's very interesting that we are being like robotized in the sense of I guess factory line robots, like the school system, right? Just kind of churning it out. But then the robots are becoming more humanized with AI and things like that. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is, I came up with this, I call it my why, 10 years ago. I already saw that starting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And now, unfortunately, it's reality. Yeah, it's like we do everything to make people, pawns in someone else's game. Is like totally obedient, doing everything the same, wearing the same clothes, the same shoes, the same bag, doing the same stuff, walking with their phones. So it's like, where we started the show today, Rob, it's like, what's your creativity? People are not creative. They're only swiping with the thing. So they're consuming someone else's creativity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas they are not creating anything themselves. So people are robotized. That's what you see at any level. And now people are like, they put these movies. It's incredible. Like, these robots, exactly like you said, in combination with AI, whatever. It's like most robots now, whatever they're supposed to do, they can do much better than humans. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people being laid off now, and I'm talking about thousands and thousands of people all over the world. They're losing their jobs to AI. Why? Because AI is doing better your standardized job than yourself. So the people as robots are replaced by better functioning robots. That is what's happening now. I'm not making this up. This is what you can see every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're living through it. It's a very interesting time, which means, at least the way I can look at it, is your creativity is more important than ever, because you got to be creative and you got to do something that only you could do, right? That is unique to you. Like you said, we're all built with unique gifts. We're all born with these unique gifts we have, and you've got to find that thing, and you've got to use that with your own unique personality, because that's one thing that I would like to think would never go out of style, is that we connect with people because of, it's kind of like an unknown sort of thing. Like I connect with certain people just because I do, right? We gravitate towards certain people, and I could be saying the same thing as somebody else, but somebody's going to be connected to me or that other person depending on how our personalities match up. And that's something that can never be replicated. That human to human contact, that human to human connection, and how you like integrate with somebody else and really, for lack of a better term, connect with them. And I feel like that is, in the world we're heading to, utilizing that to its best, utilizing that, whatever gifts you have, to your fullest, is going to be your best opportunity to still stand out in a world that is consistently more taken over by things that are AI controlled. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I would like to add to the creativity what you mentioned, is that people need to be adaptable and continuously learn.
Yep.
And that is why people, until they're, let's say, 2025, that's when the focus is on, well, they say it's learning, it's basically memorizing, it's got nothing to do with learning. But that's when it stops. And people, most people, they start in sales and they end in sales. They start being a plumber and they end being a plumber. So, but you have to adapt, because maybe from one day to the other, your job doesn't exist anymore. So you got to learn something else and adapt, and know what are my strengths, what do I love to do, and adapt. And it's like, oh, now I got to do this, I got to do this. I told you, in my corporate world, I had 12 different roles in the corporate world in 13 years, which means every year I had to adapt. Like, oh, now I got to figure out how sales work. Now I got to figure out how marketing works. Oh, now it's business operation. Now I got a business management role for Europe. Oh, now I got to do this. Everything is like, everything was all the time new, and I didn't know that. So it's like, but people these days, they know. It's like, they keep on doing this stuff for the rest of their lives. And that is not going to help you, because most likely, I think, whatever profession you're doing, it won't exist in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So you need to adapt and learn and grow into something else, and you got to love it.
That's the key point. You got to love it and embrace it, right? The better you can embrace it, the more you're going to enjoy it, and the better you're going to be at it. That's great advice. Embracing it makes you enjoy it more. The more you enjoy it, the better you are at it. And I think that is the best bet we have to continue to stand out in an ever-changing world, Arnold. That's great, man. I love that. That's so good. I want to encourage people, as we come to the end here, if they love what you're talking about, they want to know more about how do they start working out their brain. You have a masterclass for this, Brain Gym Masterclass, at braingym.fitness/masterclass. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, at the moment, I get 3 types of products. I got these masterclasses, which are video-based workshop, where there's a recorded video around specific topics like your uniqueness, like dealing with emotion, like habits, like curiosity. So if you want to know more about these topics, they're around 90-minute workshop, and I'm speaking to you, the audience, but you're not there, but imagine you're there. Yeah? So those are the masterclass. Then I got my training program, which is my flagship training, which is called From Fitting into Flying Out, which is a 15-week program where we have one session each week of 90 minutes, where I teach you all the steps from fitting into flying out. And in the week in between, hopefully you start to learn and experiment and apply it in your life. Yeah. And I recently added a few books. I read it. I just wrote a new book, which is called The Adventures of Dr. Alfred Moore. It's about a traditionally educated heart specialist who becomes a social entrepreneur. So those are the products which you can find at braingym.fitness.
Very cool. I love that, Arnold. Love what you're doing. braingym.fitness/masterclass. Make sure you check it out for yourself. This has been a fascinating conversation, much needed. I love the work that you're doing, man. So I just want to encourage you to keep going for it. And what would you like to leave the audience with? Say we never talk to you again. Say you never see us again, and you want to leave us with a lasting message for our lives. What would you give us?
There are three which sound simple guidelines, but they sound simple, but they're not easy. Yeah? It's like, number one, be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to other people. Number two, be present. Number three, be creative.
Great advice. Definitely some elements right there for a true testimony of breakthrough in anybody's life who is watching or listening right now. I want to thank you, Arnold, for being here on another episode of the Unstuck Movement.